Okay, going to check if you can see me, please. Thank you, Georgia. Hi, Julie, how are you? How did the kid get on with that form? Hi, Dorothy. Hi, Michael. Sam, how are you? Right, so we'll just give it a few minutes for people to join. This is our 10th Q&A. 10 weeks we'll be doing this now, doesn't it seem like it? Hi, Stuart, there's my boys on. Big Paul, there's another one of my boys. Hi, Bobby, happy birthday. Hi, Eddie. So it is 7:30 on the 14th of September. 2020, and I've got a bit to get through tonight, I think. I've got Georgia with me as always. She's on the production side, handling all the questions. Joanne, Leslie, how are you? Rosemary Conley, how are you? And I've got Steph. Hi, Jan, how are you? I've got Steph down in her own flat handling all the bookings, etc. We've actually changed this week. Excuse me, as Steph actually has my diary, so she can actually offer people dates. Stuart Armour, there's my cool big cousin. Okay, so we're a bit further on with this charity night. Now the girl just contacted me at the last minute. I've been trying to get her all day. We're looking to set up a charity night for the Inverclyde Food Bank. Now this is run by a good pal of mine called Lolly in Abuel, and what we're going to do is, I think the way Steph wants to do it is set up a Zoom room, and depending on how many people this Zoom room will hold, I think we're looking to get up to about 100 people in it. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a PayPal account for that, or because I don't really want to use my own PayPal account. I don't want to end up a bit of a Father Ted, you know. And hi, Alison. And Carrie, how are you? And what we're going to do is charge people for the password for the Zoom room. So I think that's the best way to go. Danielle, Charlotte, how are you? And we're setting that up. Now let me get a look at the diary. I haven't physically spoken to the girl about it yet because she's so hard to get a hold of. I think we'll set that up for the 21st of September, Steph, if you could make a wee note of that. Eddie, how are you, my friend? We never spoke this weekend, we were meant to speak. So we'll set that up for the 21st of September. So we'll do another Q&A next week, but the week after that is going to be our charity gig. Now, we're trying to, hi Steph, we're trying to, Steph and I will set this up over the next couple of days, so just keep watching my feed for that, and then obviously if you're, Leslie, I'll pay yours, don't worry about that. So, yeah, next Monday's the 21st. Oh, so it is. Right, make it the 28th. Well spotted, Ellen. Because we're going to need a bit of time to set the... God, it's the 14th of September already, can you believe it? So, Ellen, well spotted. We'll make it the 28th of September. Okay. I was on a church last night because, as I say to you, I'm ravenous for spirit work at the moment. I can't get enough of it. And I stumbled onto a church last night. Now, I won't name this church and I won't name the medium, but they're charging £3 just to go onto the church service. And in their own words, because I can show you it in black and white, It's to cover their medium for that week. Hi, Michelle. Now, I didn't know about it. It was one of my good friends that put me onto it. I tried to click onto the link, and it wouldn't let me in. And eventually, this person who I know, who was already on there, said, "Please let Gordon on. He's a good friend of mine." Now, they didn't know me, which suits me fine when I go to a spirit church, you know. I know, Paul. Really, it's not. And I was so disgusted by the level of mediumship. I had to switch it off after about 20 minutes. No evidence, no names, no dates, no memories, just all they're very proud of you, and you know, eventually I pulled the plug. And the woman had the audacity to text my friend and ask for me to pay my £2, which I was totally gobsmacked by it. So I've got my circle at the moment, which is now up to 3 boys and a girl. Okay, a girl still to come on, but I guarantee you, none of my fledglings will ever leave training like that. None of my trainees. In fact, my boys are coming on very well. Oh, excuse me. And I need 3 sitters this week. Okay, so if you want to come on in the early stages, just PM me. Okay, don't put it up here because I don't want them seeing you and going Googling you. Okay, not that they would do that, they're good lads. But please PM me if you want to be a sitter on Thursday evening. Okay, that's fine. I did say PM me, I need you. Yeah, so I'm looking for you Thursday night, and I'll be looking for this. Yeah, you're right, Lindsay. I would have paid £2 just to get out. You're absolutely correct. So I'm looking for 3 sitters for my 3/4 fledglings, and I'm getting shouted at by my Wayne here. She's got questions. But before we go into the questions, could you all please share this and let's get this out that we're doing this charity night. Thanks. Go, George.
So we had an early question from Leslie Fairley.
Okay.
So, do our loved ones get together in spirit? I hope that they do. And if they do, does that mean that ex-wives or ex-husbands may join the family group too, or does each spirit just go their own way?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Everybody gets together on the higher side. My family was very tied with another family as we were growing up. And just on Saturday night there, the other family, they all got together and we're going through old photographs and phoned me on Sunday and said, please come up, we've got a load of old photographs for you. And I went up and I got them and they've totally blown me away. And I'd like to think, hi Gillian, I'd like to think that these two, perfect, thank you, these two people, these two families on the higher side, because my mum and dad and their mum and dad, they were the best of pals, are now all getting together on a Saturday night on the higher side the way they used to here. So yeah, I would love to think that. With regard to the ex type thing, well, they're an ex for a reason. A first husband who maybe passed away and a second husband who maybe passed away would that would be a more complicated but workable relationship once you get to the higher side, you know. It's like having one kid and then you have 2 kids. You love both kids equally, you know. So I don't think ex is particularly Leslie, but certainly first husband. Sorry?
I'm sure you'd be able to visit whoever you want.
Yeah, you can visit whoever you want as well. So yes, absolutely.
That was the only question.
Okay, fine. So first wife was nasty to my mum. Hi, Catherine. How are you? I'm sorry, I've played back the Q&As, not narcissistically, just to look and see if there's anything we're doing wrong we shouldn't be doing. And I realise when I cough it's really loud, and being a smoker I cough. And when I drink you can actually hear me gulping every bit down, so I'm really sorry about that. And here comes my co-pilot. Oh no, she's decided that she's not coming over. Here's a question from Paul.
So, Paul said, my mother-in-law, who passed away 15 years ago, came to me just last night, and honestly, I woke this morning high as a kite. 15 years, and I've never heard from her. I've never heard from her from spirit. Pray she comes back through.
Okay, so this is down to, we started talking about this last week. There are a lot of people who are regulars on here over the last 10 weeks who have been doing this, who are now starting to get more evidence in their life, more physicality in the house, that sort of thing. Because as you know better than most, Paul, spirit is round about you all the time. And they're watching you on here, and they're listening to what you're talking about, what you're thinking about, and they're picking up and going, yeah, well, if that's what they want, then we can facilitate this, we can do this. So, yeah, absolutely. It's certainly not the last you've heard from her. I actually had my mum speaking to me in a dream night before last. And I was that excited, I woke up and I totally forgot everything that my mum had said to me, but it was my mum's voice, and it was clear and concise and exactly the way she used to talk to me. And it was just at that point where I was starting to wake up, and I got so excited with my mum's voice that I actually woke up, and there's no show without punch. Hello, darling. She's not too good just now, are you, pet? No, she's not too good just now. It doesn't stop her eating, as you can hear. Tom's just put something up.
He said my dad was kicking about last week. I can always tell.
Fantastic. Well, being one of my new additions, I'm thrilled about that. Again, it's down to what I was saying. I mean, your father will be there at the moment. He'll see this going on. He'll see what we're doing, and he'll try and give you more signs. Absolutely fabulous. Tom, would you mind sharing this, please? You've got a bajillion friends. Let's try and get the message out there. So, once again, 28th, thanks for that, Neve. 28th of, Polly, 28th of September, we are going to do our charity right now. It's going to be a Zoom class. Does anybody on here know how many, you'll know, Tom, actually, how many a Zoom room can actually hold?
I think it's just unlimited.
Do you reckon?
Well, I'll go on ones of my pals that are like 20, 30, so...
Yes, Charlotte, there is. My question answerer, or question asker, is not on her game tonight.
Well, it just came through.
Um,
Charlotte Taylor asked, is there anything spiritual that you don't believe in?
Yeah, there's a few things. Not naming any names, and I've been to 5 or 6 spiritual demonstrations of a physical medium, and it's not my pal who's on here that I'm talking about. And every one I was at, verbatim, apart from the evidence that came through, was pretty much word for word. And when I pointed this out, the next one I went to, McGee, Sinclair, Clare, 100 people in Zoom. Perfect, we'll look to fill one there.
I've also said if you have a pro account, it's up to 1,000.
Okay, well, we don't need that.
Another question there?
Yeah, I'm still answering the first one. When I questioned the chap who directed this, he went, oh really? I've never noticed, and all of a sudden that night it changed. So whilst the evidence was very good, what was coming through in the circle itself was repetitive. And when I questioned it, so I'm not questioning the man's ability, because he's very, very good, but there's certain aspects of it I don't believe in. And there's other things to do with healing as well.
Done. There's a question there from Joyce Montgomery. She said, what sort of signs should we be looking out for to let us know that spirit is around?
Okay, perfectly straightforward. Easiest one of the whole lot is scents. Okay. So particular aftershaves that your father might have worn, and knocks, taps, wraps are also a very good one. And in particular, electrical currents being affected, lights, televisions, all that sort of thing. I get a lot of people touching my head. I remember I had to be somewhere for a specific time, about 18 months after my father died. And I was driving down the motorway, just that lovely bit as you can pass the Erskine Bridge, down the big slope and onto the big flat straight. And I felt a dent at the back of my head. I kid you not, as real as I'm sitting here, I felt a dent in the back of my head. And I looked down at my speedo and I was doing over 100 miles an hour. Now, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't drive at that speed. But I had to be somewhere, specifically on time. It was so real. And that large crack you heard was George's knee on the underside of the table.
Actually,
Did it?
I suck.
What, right there? Ow. It was so real, that touch. It was pretty much a brand new car I was driving. It was weeks old, and it was a Japanese car. And I jumped out the car on the slipway, and I was checking under the seats for insects or snakes or anything in the car. You know, it was that hard. I'd been hit, and I realised after that it was my dad telling me to slow down and stop being a bloody idiot with the car. And I got to where I had to be. And it was for a couple of suits. I had to get to a fitting for a couple of suits. That was by.
Alison Forsyth said, I get people come to me in my dreams that have passed to give me warnings about things that are going to happen.
Georgia, would you mind repeating that? I zoned out completely.
Alison Forsyth said, I get people that come to me in my dreams that have passed to come to me and give me warnings about things that are going to happen.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And I think you'll find if you watch this, Alison, it's just as you're going to sleep or just when you're waking up from sleep, that's when we are at our most sensitive, okay? So please keep a pen and paper next to the desk, try and write down as much as you can and note when it happened, okay?
Leslie Fairley said, I know George is going to do a numbers thing, but I used to wake at the same time during the night now. For last week, I can't go to sleep until 5:15 and I wake at 8:20. Think I need a slap with a mallet.
Yeah, or some Nitol or something like that, or a half bottle of vodka. It's a spirit show. Yeah, George is really, really busy at the moment trying to find a job. You know, the wee soul's been laid off via COVID. So she's really busy trying to find a job at the moment, and I really have to steal her time to get her to sit here and do this. That was another frightening thing. Polly needed a new coat for work, so we decided to go into town yesterday, and it was derelict. It was, hi Kenny, how are you? It was like a ghost town. It was so sad to see all these shops in Greenock, virtually where your shop was, Mackay's, virtually that whole part of the Oak Mall in Greenock is shut down. Even the wee newsagents, McCall's, which everybody used, is closed down. It's terrifying to see, because this was a problem before COVID-19, and now it's atrocious, and all these people are out there looking for work. So that's why we Georgies, good. I've got a good pal on here.
I'll try my best to do it for next week.
Called Kenny Mitchell, okay? And I want everybody to send Kenny some healing, because he's going through a tough time of it, and I was meant to phone him last night and I forgot. So please, everybody send my pal Kenny some healing.
Leslie said, talking of which, I've been talking to a photographer friend of mine, need to PM her, Georgia, I mean.
Okay, but any help would be greatly achieved. I know I'm a wee bit biased because she's my girl, but there's never been a keener eye with a camera. It really is amazing.
The question there from Bobby Taylor.
Uh-huh.
See if you have a stillborn, does it age in the spirit world? And if it does, how would you recognise it when you pass?
Okay. I have my own theories on this, okay, and it's a horrible thing for a lady to go through. My mum, not a lot of people know this, but my mother had a sister called Florence, and Florence lived for a couple of hours and passed over to the higher side. And it's so hard for the ladies, because I remember my gran sitting at 80 odd saying Florence would have been 60 today, or Florence would have been 55 today, and you know it's hard with the ladies, and through some close work with Robert, and this has come back to be proven correct. With a child that's stillborn, miscarried, or terminated, if the person is brutally honest with themselves, not me, something wasn't right in the relationship. Something, be it the relationship, be it the accommodation, be it finances or whatever. And we've spent time on this and we've worked on this, and we quite honestly believe that the child is quite simply taken back, put back on the shelf until the time is correct. Okay? So if there is a stillborn or a termination or a miscarriage that you want to talk about, PM me. We'll look at it, we'll get to the bottom of it, but I think you'll find that most of them are sent back.
Charlotte Taylor asked, how do you know who your spirit guide is?
Well, you're not going to win this week with that question, because that's been up every week. It was years, and I've said this before, it was years before I knew who my guide was. And to be perfectly honest, it's not that important if you... it's not that important if you never find out. If you're there and you're working properly with spirit and it's accurate, you've got a guide there helping you. I'm very fortunate I found out who mine was. And I can't, again, I've been asked the question, but I can't remember how it came about. It was something to do with the Gamble Halls, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're there and you're working. I'd rather the evidence was correct. I'd rather you were on point, 80% and above. I'd rather there was names, dates, all that sort of thing, until you worry about guides or anything like that. And I'm telling you now, I was a good 15, 18 years in before I found it. Sorry about that.
Some more questions in.
Okay, so we're still looking for questions. We're still looking for experiences. I'm glad to see you're all sending my pal Kenny healing, because he needs it. He's a good guy in a bad situation. And maybe a wee lift from us is what he needs to get along, okay? Bear in mind, we're doing a fundraiser on Zoom for the Inverclyde Food Bank for Lolly, and that's on the 28th, but I'm looking for stuff after that to do. So what we'll do is we'll do 28th, the food bank. Week after that, we will do a normal Q&A, question and answers. Week after that, again, I'd like to do another charity night. So let's get the ball rolling, let's get the momentum rolling, and let's make some use of why we're on here. Polly, would you mind, Dara, when you get a second?
Andrew Hurrell said, my wife had a miscarriage in between my two daughters. She had a reading after my 22-year-old daughter passed and was told Stephanie was with her brother, but we only have two girls.
Okay. Andrew, you're somebody who I would like to meet, to be perfectly honest. My daughter sitting there is 22 years age, you know, and I would either like to meet you on here or shake your hand and sit down and have a gab with you. So speak to my Stephanie, who's on here as well. And Steph, if you could set that up, please. I'd like to speak to that gentleman. And by the way, the child might not be back yet. Okay.
Tom Yuri said, do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't know, is the answer to that. I believe in the natural progression of the soul, but could it be, thank you very much, my love, could it be that if you don't manage to progress on the next level, you're sent back to this level, the level before? I don't know, okay? It's all one big journey to me. You've been a huge part of mine, as you know, but I don't know, mate, is the answer to that. I don't feel qualified enough to answer that. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate that.
Izzy Conway asked, what is the most common sign that a loved one is around for us who don't have the gift?
Joyce Montgomery asked this earlier on. Look for things that you would associate with them. Okay. Spirit will move heaven and earth to let you know they're there. Okay. I'll give you an example, and he doesn't believe that he did this, but he did. One of my students, Michael, the other night, gave off a piece of evidence that nobody could understand. But as you all know, I'm an interpretational medium. So if you don't understand something, what does that mean to me? So he gave off the name Stephen. None of us could take a Stephen. So I said to him, interpret that. Who is Stephen to you? Michael went, Stephen is my neighbour across the road. He's absolutely brilliant and I love the guy. Now, my sister, who was sitting for him, had just had a bottle of wine put at her door by the person in the next house over for taking in a washing, which is something that we all grew up. Your neighbours took in your washing if the rain came on, you know. And just at that, he walked by our front window, and our front window's here, and the pavement's there, it's down in Millport, and he walked by our window. Spirit will move heaven and earth to let you know they're in and round about, okay? Knocks, taps, raps, as I said to you before, I've been done to in the back of the head, watch for scents, watch for lights flickering, that's a really good one. Excuse me, and watch for TVs being fuzzed with, radios turning up. One of Polly's pals up in Port Glasgow, Dawn, her dad has a habit of turning up the radio in the kitchen, which was something I forecast for her. So yeah, absolutely 100%.
I think Nana threw a picture of you last night.
And George is saying that our gran threw a picture at her.
Not in a frame, thankfully.
Not in the frame. We've got, and for any of you who've been in my house, you'll know I've got the stairs, quite steep stairs going up. So the last time we decorated, we've just finally finished decorating in here, but the last time we decorated the hall, we came up with this idea of a rogues gallery, you know, pictures of the kids when they were wee, our parents, our dogs, our boats, Polly and I when we were young, that sort of thing. And we can never work out if it's spirit activity knocking the pictures down the stairs or it's the bloody great big Great Dane bumping into them all because she's half blind. So, yeah, the jury's out on that one.
Paul asked, have you done past life regression?
Always fancied it. But very, very frightened of somebody mixing about with my psyche. So, always fancied it, but not been comfortable enough to be hypnotised to do it. But if you know somebody who's reputable, I'd be up for that. I think Tom would be up for that as well.
Eddie Nichols said, I was once invited to a séance with a physical medium that was desperate to make a name for himself and to get Mary's approval. There was 15 others who had paid £50 each. He played music, and after a Queen song, Freddie talked. After a Louis Armstrong song, he talked. It was the longest hour of my life. Nothing on the night was evidential, just showmanship to a very, very poor standard.
And they're charging £50. Honestly, mate, if you could have been on that church I was on last night, and bear in mind, we'll come on here and we don't charge a thing. Okay, this isn't about messages and things, although if they do come up, I'll pass them off. This guy last night, there was not one piece of evidence. Not one. It was all feelings, proud of you. You're quite a strong character. Everybody considers themselves a strong character in one way or another. They're proud of you. No, demonstrate something. Make us proud of you. You know, all circumstantial, end of the pier rubbish. Not up to our standard at all.
Pretty difficult question here from Lindsay McCann. She said, if you had the choice to either carry on giving people messages or speak to your mum and dad every day, which would you choose, as I know you can't speak to close family?
Mum and dad every day. No contest. No contest. I'd give all this up for that.
Bobby Taylor asked, do we all go to the same place, or is there a heaven and hell?
Well, I'm not sure you're going to the same place, Bobby Taylor. I like to think heaven and hell is an old wives' tale. Okay, I like to think you go to the higher side. You are judged on your life and how you led it, the chances that were put in front of you and how many you took and how many you didn't, the sacrifices you made for your friends and family, and then you'll be held accountable in some way or another. Would it be back here, as Tom was saying earlier on, or would it be to move on? There's a wonderful film called Defending Your Life, and it's got Meryl Streep in it. And I'd like to think that's the way it went, you know. It's definitely worth a watch. It was one of my favourite films for years till Forrest Gump came out and things like that, you know. But
Charlotte Taylor asked, does spirit give you, or do people around you give you a sign that something is wrong?
yeah, spirit will let me know if something's not right. I was on a reading a couple of weeks ago, and I had to stop what I was doing because I knew something wasn't right. Pauline and George were up the stairs because I was on here, and they gave me peace and quiet. And I shouted up to him, everyone okay? Yeah, fine, Dad, everyone's fine. On the phone to Steph, what's wrong, everyone okay? No, everything's fine. Sister in Millport, what's going on? Nothing, I'm fine. On to America, everything's fine. Phone my best mate, what's going on? No, everyone's fine. And I eventually had to stop and calm myself down because I was getting worked up. I was worried something was wrong with family. And then my Uncle John shouted Leslie. And it, sure as hell, by the time I got her on the phone, she was upset, she was hyperventilating, she was crying, and it was man trouble. And I just talked her down and kept her going. So yeah, Spirit phoned me. I mean, there's people on here, Tom Bury, Leslie Fairley, Catherine Gray, people who I've got a particularly strong link with, who I will follow up and go, right, what's wrong? And Tom will go, you're a creepy bastard, and tell me what's going on in his life, and Leslie and Catherine will do the same. So yes, there's even people on here who I will get a feeling, an urge to call them, and 9 times out of 10 it's right.
Alison Forsyth asked, hi Gordon, Winnie, next in Millport. You had done a reading for me and passed my name on to your mum for training.
I remember you, girl. Obviously, wee Mary's not there anymore, and when am I next in Millport? I'm nowhere to stay now, really, which is sad. Do me a favour. PM me after this, and we'll have a talk. Okay. In fact, do you know what? Phone me after sort of 1:30 tomorrow. Alison Forsyth, yeah.
Yes.
Phone me after 1:30 tomorrow. I'm clear after 1:30 tomorrow, and I'll have a chat with you.
Oh jeez.
That was you're having it here, nice.
Leslie Fairley said, just after my stepson passed, my hall mirror flew off the wall. It didn't break, and I know it was Lee because he always preened himself in that mirror.
Excellent. Wonderful. I love physical evidence. Once again, guys, please share this out there. I don't want to be crabbing on about sharing all the time, but if you just share it out there, it would be absolutely brilliant. So, Steph and I have come up with the first charity, which is going to be Inverclyde Food Bank. That's the 28th. For a fortnight on from there, we're looking for something else to do. You know I want to work with the homeless. You know I love the SSPCA. Tom, there must be some theatre charities because they're really struggling. If you could look for something on there, that'd be brilliant. So yeah, let's come up with Dorothy. Your boys into sport and all the rest of it. There must be kids out there who are showing favour, but maybe their parents can't afford the gear. Is that something maybe you could look at? Your boy's done very, very well with American football, I believe. So maybe something that can help there.
That was me, sorry. There's a question here, I'm not really sure what it means. It's my girl called Claire Michael. She said, most people ask you what they want to know, but is there something I wouldn't ask but you feel I should know, Bobby?
Okay, no, I know exactly what he's talking about. Very often people agree things that they'll communicate back when they go to the higher side. Thanks, Dorothy. One of the people is moving on to the higher side where values completely change. And what they'll bring back to the person who's left behind is maybe not what they agreed, but maybe what they need to hear. Okay? My mum and dad, I've told you the story 100 times. My mum and dad facilitated a code word, and the code word was Zippy. And for those of you that know me growing up, that was one of my mum and dad's dogs growing up. Now, Mary and I always disagreed about this. But Spirit created a situation. I've told you my sister's dog dying as my dad was dying and things like that. Spirit facilitated this code word to be put forward. Okay. Dawn, I was just talking about you. It was all good. So yes, sometimes once the person moves to the higher side and moves on to the next level and really sees what's important here, what you get back is not what you agreed, it's what you need to hear. And I hope that answers that for you.
Tom Ury said, Gordon phoned me and said, your dad approves of the car, and I hadn't told him I'd literally just bought a car and was actually driving it home from the dealers.
That's my pal. Who refused to come into my circle and then was one of the first sitters, because Tom's the first for everything when it comes to this side of things, and when he was in the circle tried to give off a message, you would tell, no, you were offered to come in but you didn't come in, so now he's in the circle.
Dorothy Nicholson said, people say that I freak them out when I call or say something they had just been thinking about.
Very, very common. Very common. A spirit in your head. You know, they go through mine like a filing cabinet and pull out things for me to say to people. And they pick out things that I'd totally forgotten about, you know. Charlotte's trying to win the competition. Ask her question.
She said, what kind of questions would you ask a medium or have asked if they did a Q&A like this?
My first question would be, why do we have the curse of the medium? I can bring all your guys' loved ones back, but I can't bring mine. It's hard. So my first one would be the curse of the medium. My second question in a Q&A with spirit, if you like, would be, how far on are we? What level are we at? Where do we start? And where does the journey end? Where does the soul actually reach the end? Where does it become, you've made it, you know? But the first one would definitely be, why? Why the curse of the medium? Because you, if you are a medium, with very, very few exceptions, tend to be the only medium who you really trust in. If you're doing it properly, you tend to be the only one. Lindsay, this is a competition between Charlotte and her husband every week. So yeah, and that one got to me a wee bit. Good question. So if you are unable to share, please tell everybody about our Zoom Room charity on the 21st of September.
So
28th of September. Thank you, Georgia. So 2 weeks from tonight, we'll do it. Okay, and I would love to charge just £3 a head and put 100 people in that room, and I will nowhere near get round all of them. Okay. But all the money, no, yes I can, Leslie, and I do sometimes, but somebody's just asked, can I read for Polly? Yes I can, and I do sometimes. But you have to remember that Polly and I are 49 and 48, and we've been together 30 years, in fact over 30 years now, so there's not much about each other we don't know, you know.
Claire Michael asked, if you could ask when your time on earth would cease, would you? Is it better to not know?
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't want to know anyway. Well, would you want to know that?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
Because what if it's like 3 weeks from
Yeah,
now?
what if it's in 20 minutes? You know? What if you find out, for example, as that lovely man who I want to meet on here, what if you find out mine's in, what age am I? 49, so what if you find out mine's in 30 years and yours in 20 years?
That'd be pants.
How would that be for a father? So,
What if
no,
only you know, though?
Eh?
What if only you know? Like if you didn't know when I was going to die and I didn't know when you were going to die, but we both knew when we were going to die.
You just kick your ass out.
Joyce Montgomery asked, do you get a hard time from those that don't believe, and how would you deal with that?
Yeah. The worst of the lot, the worst of the whole lot of the Christians, you know. There are, I don't know, an infinite number of religions in the world, including spiritualism. And they all have their 10 commandments and their holy books, and they all stand behind things and chant at you, and it's their way or the highway. Do you know what? We're the only ones that stand up, and I defy you to find anybody on here I've done a reading for who hasn't had their evidence, okay? We're the only ones who stand up and prove what we're saying is correct, okay? And the first thing people say to me is, do you believe in all that? Maybe there's a book title in that, Georgia, what do you think? Yeah.
Absolutely. You'd be looking for a book title.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I would always relate to you in your entire
That's what it's
career.
called in Egypt. That's the thing I've had from the very start.
Oh, I didn't know.
Did you not know that?
I didn't know that.
That's what my book's called, Do You Believe in All That? And that was the very first thing I had. Because it was the one thing that everybody used to say to me all the time. Oh, do you believe in all that? And the second one was always, what's the lottery numbers? If I could do that when I was sitting here talking to you.
Eddie Nichols said, the Houdini Code was a great example of spiritual communication. He agreed a code with his wife, and during many test sittings it was never delivered. An unknown medium, Henry Ford, requested to meet her and gave her the code in its entirety.
What was that called, Eddie?
The Houdini Code.
Write that down, I'm going to order that.
Very relevant. Oh, jeez.
McGee, Sinclair, Claire, is that me or Gordon Smith?
There's more questions in front of that.
Oh, right, sorry.
Tom Urey said, my dad, who was the most down-to-earth, West of Scotland man you could ever meet, told me that mediumship ran in our family literally 3 days before he suddenly died. Wow.
And look what's happening now.
Lorraine Cameron asked, were you ever embarrassed to tell folk that you had your gift?
Oh no, never. I'll give you an example. I worked with men my entire life. Really, really clever men who were paid to talk for a living, and they could cut you in half like that, you know. So could I could do it back, no problem. And I remember one Friday night, on the late shift in the garage, the graveyard shift in the garage. Thanks, Claire. As it did from time to time, the boys used to start talking about my night work, you know. So we had a good gab, and we they asked their questions, and I told them my thoughts and things like that, you know. And eventually I went out the back for a cigarette, And one of my boys, one of my good boys, Kenny, who went on to achieve great things in the motor trade. They all went on to achieve great things, but I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I never get pushed on at all. Came out the back, and Kenny said, "Boss," he said, "I lost a really good pal years ago on a motorbike, and I thought about coming to see somebody like you, but I don't really believe in it. When you're dead, you're dead." And I went, "Right, okay," and I'm smoking my cigarette. And he talks on. I finished my cigarette, flicked it away, and I said, "David said hello, by the way, he's fine." Oh my God, this boy nearly laid an egg, you know. And in that instant, and as Paul Gagan in Georgia brought up a couple of weeks ago, a message only has to be one word, you know. It only has to be one phrase for the person to understand. And the fact that I just stood and listened and never said anything and turned around to the boy and said, "David said hello." The boy was blown away and is now a good true believer.
Charlotte Taylor asked, "Is there more spirits on Halloween, or is that a myth?"
Myth, Hollywood. Made up for the movies. On the plus side though, they're making a Halloween 2. Not a Halloween 2. What's that one called with Bette Midler in it? Hocus Pocus 2. They're making a Hocus Pocus 2. One of my favourite films.
I think they're just... Jan Solomon asked, "When did you realise, Gordon, that you could contact the spirit world, or did you always know?"
Okay, that's Jan Solomon.
Oh,
And you know Jan. Okay,
sorry.
your daddy played football with Jan and worked with him.
Very sorry.
Jan, that was as young as 10 years of age. And then later on, about 17, 18. And then full on at 21. The one at 21 was the one that got me in the car and going to see my mum. And I get thrown in the spiritualist, what do you call it, cabinet, the spirit cabinet. I get thrown in that, and it was like turning a light on. So yeah, very, very young, about 10 years of age. But you've got to remember that was like 1981 on the west coast of Scotland, and it wasn't the society we live in today, you know. So I kept my mouth shut. And then something happened when I was about 17, 18, which blew me away and frightened me to death. And I just pushed it all away. And then when I was 21, a real specific thing happened that got me in the car, and that was, Jesus, that was 28 years ago. Wow, I never thought it was that long.
Claire McGee said, "My husband was a sceptic until he heard my reading from Gordon. He managed to give him proof and facts that absolutely no one would know."
That's nice to know. And he's a believer now.
Catherine Ormond said, "Everything you have told me has been validated over and over."
Catherine is one of the few people, and this is, I don't love it when this happens because I'd rather the person was still here. But Catherine's mum is one of the very, very few people I've actually read for here and then brought back through after they passed. So it's I've only done it about 3 or 4 times. But it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. You'd rather that because she was a lovely lady, Catherine's mum. You really would rather. I was round in your house in Dumbarton. I read for her. You really rather they were here, but it's nice that they trusted you to be the first one to bring them back, and that means a lot.
Claire answered back and said that yes, he is a believer now.
Oh, that's good, excellent. And it was me, not Gordon Smith.
And it was you, yeah. Leslie Fairley said she's still waiting on the next draft of that book, lol, but she knows we're busy.
No, first of all, my computer's on the fritz again. Her boyfriend was meant to fix it, and then she punted the boyfriend, so now I've been able to fix it. Proper drop kicked him.
Got a laptop open first, but...
Yeah, so if anyone wants to fix my laptop, that would be absolutely brilliant. I will, of course, pay you for it. But that's really what's holding the book up, because I was thinking about this today, and Eddie and Paul, I would like your input in on this, okay? The book's been coming up a lot, okay, as in push the book, push the book, push the book, okay? But is it my book or my mum's book? and I would like your guys' opinion on it, because my book's lying there half done. So, or you know me, I'm marketing. I've got to market my mum's book and get my mum's book out there and make that really famous.
Dorothy Nicholson said, Gordon, I witnessed this at the Gamble Halls. A guy just walked in out of curiosity. A message came through, and let's just say he stood up and admittedly said, I never believed in all this, but there is no way you could tell me these things that you have.
Okay, down to the fact that spiritualists as a religion actually back up what they say is being correct. And all the other religions ask you to have blind faith. Having faith in being a spiritualist is a phenomenal thing, because you know that somebody always has your back. You know that you're never placed in a situation that you cannot handle. You're looking awful shady, Pauline. You're lurking about there. And that's what really, really... It's my affirmation, if you like. The fact that I remember being asked to go and do a church. Do you mind, guys? I remember being asked to go and do a church, and wee Mary said, "What are you going doing that church for? What are you doing that for? That's done for all the wrong reasons." And I said, "I don't know, Mum." I says, "I won't book it again, but I feel the need to go and do it." And there was a chap there who hadn't long lost his father, and he was sitting right up the back, and he was trying to stay out the road, and of course I just went straight to him. And yes, the rest of the service went on for about an hour or so, and everybody else got messages and things like that, but the whole entire reason I was sent there that night, and I felt the need to do a church I wouldn't normally do, was for that one chap. Could you guys maybe do that later?
I'm sorry. Eddie Nichols said that it was Harry Houdini the magician and a good friend of Arthur Conan Doyle.
Well, Arthur Conan Doyle, as we know, was a raving spiritualist, you know. It's amazing how spirit work things into your life, you know. Helen Duncan, for example, who was imprisoned in London, was imprisoned under the Witchcraft Act. I apologise that there was no Witchcraft Act. And was sent to a prison in London where the governess was a practising spiritualist, and she had the easiest time in prison. Noel Edmonds, again a practising spiritualist. There's many of us out here, many of us.
A question from Bobby Taylor.
Yeah.
Said, what would you say is the best and worst thing about being a medium?
Dead easy. The look on somebody's face when they get that undeniable piece of evidence, and they actually turn and go, "How can you do that?" Very, very close friends of Polly and myself, and I'm 49 years of age, and I've known Peter for 45 of those years. We went to primary one together, and they actually lived in the house across the road for a number of years. And we used to Saturday nights in their house, and they'd have Saturday nights in their house when the kids were wee and things like that, you know. And Alison asked me this night to look for a particularly strong lady in her life, and I just went like that, and she went, "Oh my God." Her grandmother had lost the top part of her finger. I can't remember how. It was 100 years ago. The look on people's face when you bring back that minuscule piece of evidence that means the world to them. Yes, they'll get all the rest of the evidence and help and structure in their life and things like that, but when you bring back that one bit that blows them away, that's the best feeling in the world, because you know you're right. So there's a fly in my screen here. Bugger it off. You know you're right. You know you're pinging along. You're really motoring well. The worst part, you know what it is. Your wife nearly brought me to tears with it earlier on. I can't talk to Mo.
Anastasia Williams asked, "What are your views on the three Fox sisters?"
Well, the Fox sisters I like that. It's a bit of knowledge there. Who asked that?
Anastasia Williams.
Very good. I'm impressed. The Fox sisters are really seen as the sort of founders of modern spiritualism, and they were bullied by press, they were bullied by scientists, they were bullied by people who just wanted to bunk them. My opinion of the Fox sisters is they were 100% good. I have no bad feelings about them.
Leslie Fairley said that she loved Nana's book on Helen Duncan and the lovely message that she wrote in it for her.
You've got a signed copy by the author. That's something Georgia hasn't got.
Fiona Jane Whiteford asked if you've lost weight.
7 stones. When my dad died, I was 22 and a half stone, and I'm under 16, I know that, so about 7 stone.
Claire McGee asked, do you believe in auras?
Yes, Orun. Auras, Orun. Yes, I do. And I also believe in the wee spectres of light you see, and I have a fabulous photograph of I have a fabulous photograph of my mum with orbs, and I'll just show you that because I came across it today. I believe in auras, and there's a thing called aura reading as well, I believe.
Yuri said he's seen them since he was a wee boy.
Yeah, he
They're
would.
mentioned a lot in the Celestine prophecy as well.
Yeah. So if you can see, now how do I get that so it's not? The most important thing you can see is the orb next to my mother. Georgia, you're so clever.
Thanks.
So there's my mum, and that's either Eastbourne or something like that. But look at that orb next to my mum. There's no other orb, so it's not dust. I just think that's absolutely fantastic. So yes, I believe in all of these things.
Lindsay McCann asked, do you think when we pass over, we choose which medium we pass messages back through to the living, or do you think we are assigned to someone?
No, I don't feel we're assigned to someone. But I liken it, being an old motor trader, to going for a test drive in a car. You could jump in my Mercedes and drive it and go, that's okay, that's fine. You could go along, you jump in a BMW and go, yeah, that's okay, that's fine. But you might jump in an Audi and go, wow, no, this is the one. So as a driver, I can go out and drive any car on the planet, okay, just about. But there's certain ones that I'm more comfortable in. So some spirit work better with some mediums. I don't really struggle with anyone, to be honest. I generally am able to work with spirit when they come through. But maybe just some are more comfortable with others.
Claire McGee says that she sees your aura as a pale green. She only gets it with certain people.
What is pale green? I don't understand. So yeah, there's one right back at you. What does pale green mean? I'm more of a pale blue and white guy myself, but
Dorothy Nicholson said, how can I smell your cigarette, Gordon, when no one in this house smokes? Crazy, I hope I'm not losing it.
we're all at a delicate age, Dorothy. There's none of us getting any younger. I don't know, Pip. I don't know. This is something I shouldn't be doing. If I was being utterly professional online, I shouldn't be doing this. But it's something that just makes me work a wee bit easier. So, yeah, maybe just watch for that. Again, what you have to remember here is that spirit's round about you all the time, okay? And a lot of people who are watching this and who are coming on here every week are getting more spiritual experiences because their loved ones are round about and watching and listening to what we're doing. So maybe it's someone round about you who's on the higher side who enjoyed a cigarette, just trying to let you know that they're there. As I said here earlier on, one of the easiest ways for them to do it is to give you a scent.
Joyce Montgomery asked, what is an orb?
I'm going to look that up and answer that later, Joyce. That's twice you've got me now.
I'd say it's just...
It's spirit light, basically,
Yeah,
isn't it?
physical
Yeah,
represent- a
physical representation of spirit
spirit,
light.
yeah.
That's the way I've always
I'd
looked
say,
at
to
it.
say it's more energy, like it's spirit
Well,
energy.
light is energy.
Exactly.
Okay, so as is heat and kinetic and things like that, you know. So yeah, I'd say it's a physical representation of spirit light, but I'd prefer to look that up or take counsel and come back to you on that.
Alison Forsyth asked, do children find it easier to see spirit?
Absolutely, yeah. We've went over this quite a lot in the Q&As, the younger kids in particular, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, when they get to about 5 or 6, they start to move out of it. But absolutely, yes, it's that untainted look at the world, that beautiful high cast and that beautiful clear mind I've got at that age.
There's this down to 5 minutes.
That's what, sorry?
5 minutes left.
Okay, sorry, right, carry on. Right, so we're down to 5 minutes, okay? So really, really important. We get out there that we've got this charity night 2 weeks from tonight. Steph and I will get together and we'll put something up on here. So watch my feed, okay? Once we get it up there, I've just about made everything public to do with this. So you can share the hell out of it. I've got 1, possibly 2, but I'm still looking for a couple of people for Thursday night. Okay, my boys. And it's only about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And by the way, they're hitting well. They're not formulating full messages yet, but the evidence they're giving is really, really good. Here's my wingman back again.
Leslie Fairley said, when my daughter's bulldog was sick, she took a picture and I could see lots of orbs around her. Spoke to you and the pup got even better than she was.
Tom, I'll do that in a wee minute. Oh, that's fabulous, and it's one of the reasons I think I've picked her. I need to speak to her actually this week, so I need to speak to her before Thursday. Tell her to let me know when she's available for a call.
Nina McIntosh said, my daughter's boyfriend seen her dad sitting in the back seat of his car through his mirror. I said you're getting his approval, am I right?
Absolutely, yeah. As I'm going out to do sittings for an evening, if I'm going to somebody's house, very often there's somebody sitting in my passenger seat or sitting in my back seat. George will vouch for this. I live up off the Clough Road in Gourock, which is the coast road, and pretty much if you come down to the bottom of a hill and turn left at night, you drive through the woods down there, and I will actually refuse to drive through there at night on my own. I either have to have one of the girls with me, or I have to have one of the girls on the phone in the car, because there's a female presence, and there's an awful lot of crashes just at one point. You know what I'm talking about, yeah? Just on that bend.
I hear it myself.
There's an awful lot of crashes down there at that point as well, and I refuse to drive. I feel this particularly not nice lady in the car, but if I've got Georgie or Polly or Steph or my sister Ailey on the phone to me as I'm driving around there, they seem to stay away. My Uncle Jerry, I love him to bits, okay, but he's getting too old now for his boat, and probably about a year passed in June. It was my cousin's wedding, my cousin Gillian, who I lost, and I was the maitre d' at her wedding, and I put a bit of effort into it, and I made sure everybody had fun, and like me, I took the rip out of everybody and things like that, you know. And my Uncle Jerry came up afterwards and he said, how's your boat? And I said, I've not really had much interest in my boat since my dad died. I've really sort of can't be bothered with a lot of things anymore. I said, that's a pity. He says, because my boat is getting too much for me, and I need somebody to take it, and I want you to have it. And you should see this boat, you know, 22 feet, wooden, clinker, cruiser stern, everything I love in a boat. And I remember driving back up from there that day, and my dad had boats all his life, and my Uncle John, they were both obviously Jerry's brothers, and Uncle John had a beautiful big boat called the Javelin, and I could feel the two of them sitting in the back seat going, we did that. They facilitated that, so that when I eventually get married and out on the water because of COVID, etc., and my cousin Jerry and his busy schedule, and we've just not managed to get her done this year. So when I am I managed to get Marion out on the water. My dad and my Uncle John can get a sail with me on that wee boat, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, when you see them in the back seat and you feel their presence round about, they're there, they're in and round about.
Bobby Taylor asked who won tonight.
Charlotte, without a doubt, she never had me in tears.
That's us. It's an hour.
That's I know. Wow. Okay. So you know what you're doing, okay? Tom, let's have a look to see if there's any variety things that we can help, any gig places that are important to you that we can help. Dorothy, if you could look at...
Oh, did you see what Dorothy just said?
Yeah, do you remember the triple bunk beds? Yeah, I remember them. I fell out them a couple of times drunk, actually. Dorothy, if you could look at any sporting things that would need our help, but it's important that you mention to these places first that it is spiritualism that's going to be raising the money, because some people can get a wee bit funny about that, you know. Leslie, was it you asked to do a thing with the homeless and find out if we can do anything for the homeless people? I can't remember. Please, guys, my pal Kenny Mitchell's on there, and Kenny, I'll phone you tomorrow night, I promise, okay? I've just got a lot on tonight. I'll phone you tomorrow night, because we need to try and get your dad back through. Please send healing to my pal Kenny. He's in a wee bit of a situation that's not of his own making, and it could do with all our help to pull him out of it, okay? I love doing this. I'll see you next week for Q&A 11 at 7:30. Jan, maybe you and I need to speak at some point as well. It'll be up on YouTube tomorrow or the next day, depending how my computer is, and if anybody wants to fix my computer, I would love that. And other than that, I will see you on Monday night, guys. PM me. If I don't have you sitting for my students this week, I'll need you next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, etc. Okay? So if you want to be in at the start of their journey or further on their journey, just let me know. Okay? Thanks a lot, guys. Love you all. See you next week.